Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Saints Commanders, Sunday from the Dome, noon. Commanders are up to 7.5-point favorites. That game opened around a field goal, 3.5. When the news of Derek Carr's injury and likely being out, that line shot up, and it hasn't done anything but continue to climb. Washington just has a ton to play for. The Commanders right now have an 85% chance to make the postseason per ESPN Analytics. If the Commanders beat the Saints, that jumps up to 92%. They're 8-5. They'd go to 9-5 with a win against New Orleans. With a loss, their playoff odds, the Commanders, would fall to 68%. So the Saints, as we know, have a less than 1% chance of making the playoffs. For New Orleans, this isn't about making the playoffs. For New Orleans, this is about two things. For Darren Rizzi, he's trying to win this job. Darren Rizzi's been the head coach for 4 games. He's 3-1. They played an atrocious football game last week up in New York. Like 2 bad teams, and somebody had to win it, and the Saints won it. And the one game they lost was certainly one that got away against the Rams. Otherwise, you would be squarely in the division mix in the NFC South, which you are not right now. So that's one, Darren Rizzi. Number 2 is Jake Haener. It's very likely going to be Jake Haener's first career start. And so Haener wants to play well and prove that he should be a guy that the Saints are considering potentially as the heir to Derek Carr and maybe a long-term option, at least have the option to play again if Derek Carr is out. That's it. That's the extent of what you're playing for here for New Orleans. But the reality is the Saints are a bad football team. There's no way around this. Every time we talk about the Saints in every game they play, you have to mention it. Like the Saints this year, when they play teams with a winning record, they're 0-6 outright and 0-6 against the spread. The Saints have not they haven't won or covered a single game this year against a team with a winning record. So, while yes, it's been nice to see the Saints get some wins here with Darren Rizzi as the interim to break the 7-game losing streak that was just dreadful and miserable to go through. It's nice to know that Dennis Allen is no longer the coach, the albatross around the collective neck of this franchise. You're still a very bad football team. Your wins were against the Panthers, the Cowboys, the Falcons, Browns, and Giants. Ain't nobody good. Washington is good, and they have a lot to play for. A few things when I look at the game. We've seen the Saints now without Derek Carr 3 times. I mean, I guess you could throw in at the end of the Kansas City game or the end of the game against the Giants when he was injured. But really, for full games, it was Tampa, it was Denver, and it was the Chargers. You scored 27 against Tampa, 10 against Denver, and 8 against the Chargers. And the 27 against Tampa is like a big asterisk because you got down 3 scores in that game, and then you rallied to take a lead right before half, and then you didn't score again. All 27 of your points were in the second quarter in a flurry. But 3 of the 4 quarters you were shut out. And then the next game you scored 10, and the next game you scored 8. They can't score, and the Saints aren't going to score this weekend. I understand Washington's scoring defense is middle of the pack in the NFL. They're 17th. And Washington's rush defense isn't very good. And Daron Payne is, if you missed it, Daron Payne on Friday, who had been practicing all week, apparently suffered a back injury. He went from not listed at all in the injury report to not practicing at all on Friday with that back injury. So his status is questionable right now for the game. But you just got finished playing the New York Giants, who are one of the worst teams in the NFL, maybe the worst team in the NFL, on a week where they didn't have Dexter Lawrence, who's the most dominant interior player statistically anyway right now this year in the NFL. They don't have Dexter Lawrence, and you go out there and you run for 92 yards on 33 carries, 2.8 a carry. Why am I to believe that's going to be any better against a Washington team that's playing motivated with their playoff hopes, I shouldn't say in the balance, but still very much to play for? Then the other side of this is New Orleans against a rushing quarterback. The Saints have been atrocious historically against running quarterbacks. And sometimes year to year, that doesn't always play forward, but that has been the case again this year. And now you're facing Jaden Daniels, who is right there with Lamar Jackson among the best rushing quarterbacks in the NFL. So when that has been an Achilles heel for New Orleans over the last decade, I don't know why it would be any better this week. I mean, Jaden Daniels is averaging over 5 yards a carry. He's rushed for 590 yards. He's only 50 yards behind Brian Robinson on the season in rushing. He's got 6 rushing touchdowns. This is a bad matchup in every way. You don't have good receivers. Marshawn Lattimore is available for them. That's going to bolster their secondary. You're not very good at running the football. They're not very good at stopping the run. I don't know why that's dramatically going to improve. You don't have Derek Carr. You're playing Jake Haener making his first career start. You flip it around. There's just nothing. There's no matchup in this game where I go, yep, that's the thing that benefits New Orleans. That's how they're going to win the game. It's just going to have to be a hideous football game like you played last week in New York, and you find a way to win a terrible game, like what we just saw on Thursday Night Football with the Rams and the Niners. It was a field goal game. It finished 12-6. Like, that's the kind of thing you would need. Or you would need something like what happened when the Saints played the Falcons the first time. And the Saints lost that game despite not allowing an offensive touchdown by the Falcons. You just gave them scores. I mean, Rashid Shaheed did a stupid thing and tried to field a ball inside the 5-yard line. You just handed them a score on special teams. Like, those are the types of breaks the Saints would have to get in this game. And it's just, in the NFL, it's so hard to predict those things. That's why the Saints are a 7.5-point underdog. So, look, I don't think, I'm not picking the Saints to win. I don't think that's going to be any surprise to anyone. I don't think they're going to win this game, and I don't think they're going to win next week either at Green Bay. I think they have a great chance, if Derek Carr is back, to beat the Raiders in the second to last week. And then I think they're going to play Tampa in the final week of the season, and Tampa's going to be playing for the division. And I think Tampa's going to beat them. So I think the Saints have one win left. It's going to be against the Raiders, and I don't think the Saints do anything offensively Saturday or Sunday in the Dome. I think Jaden Daniels and the Commanders win this 27-10. I think it is a relatively easy win for the Commanders. I don't think that they will be in any way challenged in this game, because I don't know that there's anywhere in this game the Saints can challenge the Washington Commanders. So give me the Commanders to beat the Saints, and I think this final month of the season is going to be a real challenge, maybe even more complicated by the fact that you don't have Derek Carr likely this week and for the foreseeable future. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.